So we know the issues, we know about energy, we know about the border, we know Joe Biden doesn't know what he's doing. We know all that, we get all that. But why do this? Why do this here tonight with Legacy PAC? Because there's a whole lot of people who have the passion to save this country who need help getting off the ground.
The purpose of Legacy PAC is to save America. That's our mission. That's what we really want to do because America is worth saving.
I am by trade, I'm a cybersecurity engineer. Okay, so this is my first run in politics. We need more conservative Republicans standing up and fighting for the Constitution.
We're an America First PAC, and we want to promote and help our up-and-coming candidates, and we're going to be holding the line for President Trump.
I joined the Army at 17 years old. My first day at my first unit, which was 25th Infantry, was September 10th, 2001. So the next day was 9/11. And I spent about a total of a decade between Iraq and Afghanistan in country. So my country means everything to me. When I realized that if people like myself who don't want to be politicians don't start stepping up and taking these seats, that nothing's going to change, then I said, okay, I'll do it.
Who deserves to lead the people of this country more than those who serve this country? So I'm behind every one of them. So let's make sure we get more veterans into power. I'm all for it.
Remember why you're involved. We have to make sure people remain humble and not engage in self-glorification. You are here for one reason, and that is to save the country. Period. End of story.
And for those candidates who are looking uphill and wondering how, keep your head down, focus on the target, and outwork everybody. And I promise you, you're not gonna lose. You're either gonna win on election night or you change the game on election night. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much, Legacy PAC.
Thank you, Legacy PAC.
And Stan, where's Stan? Stan is with Veterans for Trump.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you all. We're honored. I know there are so many organizations represented here today.
You're saying here too much, but you're going to do very well. And I just had somebody write down. First of all, James and Sarah Pritchard, thank you very much. Yes, great job. Thank you. We appreciate all the help. Stanley and Donna Fitzgerald.
Right here, sir.
Thank you very much. It's great. It's great that you're with us. Mike Acton.
Legacy PAC and Veterans for America First.
Hi, this is Stan Fitzgerald of Veterans for Trump and Legacy PAC. I'm here with Major General Malloy. The Major was endorsed by President Trump for his run at Senate in Vermont, and he was also endorsed by our veterans organization. It was Vermont, so it didn't turn out our way, but he made great progress in reaching the people there. How are you today, sir?
Fine, thank you, Stan. Thanks for having me on. It's good to talk to you again.
Well, we appreciate all the hard work you did getting Republican voters in Vermont. Gerald, can you tell us about your background, please?
Sure. So up here in Vermont, my wife Stacy and I, we have 4 children. That's the most important thing. But back 18 years old, I decided to go to, was luckily enough to go to West Point. Spent 4 years there, was commissioned field artillery, and spent 22 years in the Army. And I am a veteran, a combat veteran. And after the Army, I worked actually a couple of years in government, and for the last 15 years or so in industry, I've been supporting the defense industry. Extremely competitive, been performing there, and I still consider it service because I engage with military folks all the time. And so you're right. Ran last year. I am thinking about running again for this upcoming Senate election here in Vermont in 24. And I appreciate all the support from Veterans for America First, and I do greatly appreciate a glowing endorsement from President Trump. That was one of the highlights of me of running last time. I can tell you, as we talked about, there's some folks up here that not that crazy about President Trump, but he was a great president. Certainly would be better than we have right now. So,
I remember we rolled the John Fredericks bus up there for you, and crowds were going nuts for you. You got out of the bus like a rock star. So,
another highlight. And John Frederick and there's so many folks that jumped on. I had about a couple of hundred plus folks supporting the campaign here. But that John Frederick trip, I think we made 3 or 4 stops, Rutland, up in the outskirts of Burlington, and a couple of other places, and it was fantastic. And it's one of the reasons I'm thinking about running again now, because that was very, very encouraging. And our election last year, you're right, I won the primary, didn't win the general, but certainly learned a lot, and gonna take all that and probably run again.
So tell us a little bit about Vermont politics, because most people across the country think it's impossible to flip a Senate seat. I don't think it's impossible. I think you came close, is very close. Sure. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Sure. So people think of it as blue, 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 and you know what? Right now, it kind of is a couple of interesting things we have and have had for a number of years now. A Republican governor, he's very popular. But one of the things when I looked at Senator Leahy, when he made his announcement back in November of 21, I hadn't thought about running really until that point. And I looked at Vermont. I'm originally from Boston, so I'm New Englander. I looked at the history of the Republican Party in Vermont, and prior to him, Senator Leahy being the last Watergate baby, as people would call him, during those not so good times, Democrats made a lot of progress in the Senate and the Congress, all of Congress. But he managed to become a U.S. senator in 1974. 100 years before that, straight, nothing but Republicans. So that base is here, and I saw it. And I met it. Met folks, across all 14 counties. It's a very folks here believe in the Constitution. I will say right now, unfortunately, there is a majority in the legislature for within Vermont, so that Governor Scott, he had 8 vetoes last year, and 6 of them were overridden, and so that's not a good situation. And I got to tell you, some of those. One of the reasons I decided to run was that I saw when President Biden took over, really from day one, some bad things and a bad path that we were going on. And I do think, for instance, I think the progressive far left has hijacked the Democrat Party and got us on a bad path. So that's one of the reasons I decided to run. I see, just in the last, that was last November, last 9-10 months, been going to a lot of Republican Party events across Vermont. People are excited to regain seats in the legislature, and I get a lot of encouragement for me to run. I just talked this morning to another candidate that I think is going to run for U.S. representative, great candidate, and so I'm excited about it.
Will you give that candidate that you like our phone number, please? I'll definitely have a conversation with him.
Sure. Yeah.
Gerald, people across the country are looking at these indictments of President Trump. I believe it's 4 states, and they're making noise in Arizona, like maybe there too. What is your take on this? I mean, to me, it's very banana republic what they're doing, because I don't see the evidence that anybody did anything wrong. This seems to be all fabricated.
It does appear to me that people talk about the weaponization of the Department of Justice, and you see a lot of disparities. And it's hard to watch. It's disappointing. We're going to go through our legal system. The interesting thing, I mean, the mugshot, I think, increased President Trump's popularity. I think maybe some of these.
It also increased the donations. So
yes,
he's the master of using what they do against him.
Yes, and so I'm looking for him, to go through the legal system. You're right. I don't think there's anything going to come up out of it. flip side, just the president and his son, and there's some serious issues there, and I don't see certainly don't see that same aggressiveness that's on a former president. Yeah, so we'll see how it plays out.
Well,
But
just so our viewers are clear, you're talking about Hunter Biden, and it was leaked out today that there may be an indictment.
oh, okay, I didn't see that today, but yes, that
And
is
so-
what I'm talking. And I talked about that during the campaign a little bit, and it's and I mean, I'll even go back. One of the reasons I decided to run was, I watched the Afghanistan withdrawal, and that was a debacle. And I will tell you, Stan, the night I decided to actually run was the State of the Union address from President Biden, and I watched that whole thing. I got to tell you, it was hard for me to watch him because he wasn't addressing what I was seeing as the issues that Vermonters and Americans were really concerned with. A, but B, he didn't have the character to say, thank you from a grateful nation to the 13 service members that were killed because of how he directed that operation.
It's a travesty. I mean, I don't even have words for how bad the current president and his administration is, but that's why we need people like you to step up. So I hope you do. The interview wasn't about you running, but
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, we're encouraging you to run. I mean, I wanted to make the announcement today that we are honored to have you join our team as an ambassador at Veterans for America First, also known as Veterans for Trump.
Sure.
So you are welcome with open arms into our organization, and
Honored to accept that, and you're right. So I haven't made an official announcement yesterday. I'm trying to work a couple of pieces before I do that, but it's coming, and I am honored by the offer to be an ambassador for your organization. Really, anything related to veterans. Member of the VFW. I've been working. Sidebar. I've been working with Convention of States. You may be familiar with that, and particularly lately, where we see how our 80-year-old representatives, it's time to retire. It just is. And, I'm sorry, but, and so one of the things that Convention of States promotes is term limits. And, the way we're at gridlock, that Article 5, which a lot of people don't know about, but, there's another way to get an amendment done, and that could be it.
Gerald, I appreciate your time here, sir. And normally I wasn't planning on asking because I didn't know you were going to run, but if someone wants to find your website, where would they go?
Sure. So it's deploymalloy.com. However, we're in the process of updating that right now. So I would give that a couple of days, but deploymalloy.com.
Well, we'll definitely put out 2 rounds of press then. So if and when you do announce, there'll be a follow-up to make sure people can find your website. And thank you, sir, and look forward to talking to you again. You'll have our full support, obviously, through the campaign. And thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thank you, Stan, and thank you for what you guys do with Veterans for America First, and appreciate all the great support. And it is time to get America back on the right path, and I hope to be part of that.
Well, you are, sir. You're motivating people, not just in Vermont, but across the country. So thank you again, Major, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Good evening. Yep.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.